Yeah, we're live. So I've done all the ancillary bits, so to speak, accessories, things like stabilizer, elevator, engine mounts, bits and bobs, accessories really. But now I'm starting on the main fuselage and the wings. This construction is very, very similar to the P-51D Mustang. This you can see is where the wing is going to come into. And what I really like about 3D Labs is the beautiful architecture inside, and this one looks exceptional. And they did say that in the documentation online, so I think if you come up to Mark III Spitfire, and you have a look here, this is their main landing page for the Spitfire, and it really is beautiful design, I have to say. And then they have their user guide, just open that up, which is, I think, their PDF. Yeah, we are. The user guides are getting better. English could do to be improved just a little, but overall, very good compared to how when they first started. A lot clearer details. Of course, if you haven't done one of these before, you do really need to go through all the construction videos, which are up on their website. In fact, you just click in here, go to YouTube, go to their playlist for the Spitfire Mark 16. So they're only showing a sample of videos here, and then rapid mode. So if you haven't done one before, you really need to take your time. Plus, they have a sort of demo guide on how to print the wings the first time, and of course, you can use my videos as well. This is a slightly smaller footprint, I'd say, than the P-51. Not much more, but they sort of cover all of the printing guides here, so for thin wall printing. But most of my videos have covered off on all the things you need to do in Cura to get these to print okay. So with the X-ray switched on, you can get to see the internal detail. If you turn the X-ray off, you won't see it, but with it on, you will. So it's good to use the X-ray because you can have a good look inside, think, well, what will this look like? And also, when you get your thin wall printing set up nicely, then this will print out crystal clear, as mine are at the moment. But I've had to do a lot of work on my Ender 3 Pro, including replacing the print head bouton tube and the extruder mechanism. So I got better quality ones than the ones that come from the manufacturer. No idea what they're shipping now. And I'm getting really good, reliable prints and very accurate. You know, the printer is always saying best quality, whereas prior it wasn't. I was getting all sorts of artifacts, you know, blobs, just really problematic to sort out, but eventually I did. And don't forget, bed leveling is critical. I'd also recommend getting a wham bam build plate. That's what I'm using at the moment. I'm setting it to 70 degrees Celsius, and I only found that recently from their the INI files. I was just checking out their INI files, so that they've raised the build plate another 10 degrees because it used to be around 60. So now using a build plate of 70 degrees, you can see down here, print temperature at 200, and the fan is off. Remember, I said you could turn it, don't ever turn the fan off midstream. So I've got the fan, enable cooling, is switched off, and that's what they're recommending. The reason to do that is you've got your build plate nice and hot, and you've got a moderate temperature for your heated end, and then you've got your flow rate set for 102 down here, which is important. Print speed, yeah, 60 millimeters per second is fine on this kind of stuff, especially considering you've got no fan, so it's running pretty fast and fairly fluid. Remember, the initial layer I said already gives you a nice thick brim at the bottom, so you obviously have a brim of have a nice wideish brim of 5mm, or 5 lines, I think that is, which is 8mm rather, 5 at 8, which makes sense, 5 times 0.4. Yeah, and the only thing I've said, seam alignment, left to sharpest corner. So this is where the seam would normally be seen. If you select random, you probably find the seam is moving around. I tend to use the sharpest corner. Top slicing tolerance must be exclusive. Mesh settings in Cura, these are these sort of mesh fixes as they call them. Pretty much you turn them all off. I've left union overlapping volume switched on. I haven't zeroed these out. I think that they probably recommend that you do, but mine seems to be okay with these settings. What else can I tell you about thin wall printing? Which is tricky to get this working. I've dropped the thickness because I've done the thick parts. I had the line width at 0.8 for the clips and various thick parts like engine mounts, and I had some infill for the engine mounts and the clip because I want it to be light, but I want it to be strong. And I think that's the main settings for the fuselage, and the wing will pretty much be the same. Top and bottom layers are 0. I don't want a top layer here because the engine mount's going to go in here. Let me just double check on the so fuselage 1. Fuselage 1 long. Let's go and have a quick butchers at this one actually. Let's just delete that. I like the feature where you can drag and drop so you can have a quick look. Yeah, so that one's where the engine's mounted at the back. But for the high performance one, it's this one you want. So the long one is where you have a long motor. The engine mounts there, but it's got a long motor in here. So these, it depends on which type of motor you're getting in there. The motor I have gone for is an equivalent to the one that they're quoting. The one that they quote up in the user guide is not available at the moment. It probably won't be. So they've discontinued it. However, you can find up on Banggood, if you go up to, let's get up website. If you go up to, this is where I think I found an equivalent, Banggood motor. Let's go to my shopping cart. So I recently picked one up, good price. So let's go to shopping. Let's sign in. And let's go to my orders. Yeah, so I've just gone and bought one of these. And they're a good price. It might take a couple of weeks to get to you, so you might want to order a couple. This is the equivalent motor to the one that they kind of show. Normally these was a 30 quid for a motor like this with these multiple windings. So it's a 600 kV BR4108. That's the one I've gone for, and it does fit into the P51D as well, and it's very powerful. It's a good motor, relatively good quality for that kind of price. I don't think you're going to go far wrong. So that's the Raystar Racing Edition. Normally it's in quadcopters and light, but it goes very nice in the Spitfire. So that's what I'd recommend for that. And then the fuselage you need is the other one, which is, in fact, let's just make it easier for myself. Drag fuselage one into there. Yeah, and then go and slice that one up. Again, don't worry about this mesh tools problem. As I discussed in the earlier videos, it's all to do with the way these inner components intersect with the walls, that we have gaps, but not that the gaps get filled in, because the weld effectively, when it's going back and forth, will seamlessly weld into the wall. And it's just how 3D Labs create this stuff. You can't create a single mesh A single mesh would mean all these objects is one part. So when they talk about manifold, they're talking about the fact it isn't actually one piece, which is fine. And that's why you have to turn those mesh settings off to tell it to ignore, and you'll find these up on the 3D Labs website in Cura to get these mesh settings. But you turn them off, and then when you've done that, and you go and preview it, let's just slice this copy up. These stringers across the top are normal and they're necessary because it gives additional support whilst it's doing its head movement. Otherwise, it will probably end up not fully being, you cut these away basically. But you can see the internal structure inside of this. And it's, you can see it with it, obviously with the X-ray, but that will then print out exactly how you want it. It's very, very delicate, lovely internal structure, and remarkably strong. Once you finish printing this, you'd be surprised just how light and how strong these prints can be. Your 4 screws here where the engine mounts go through. Little notch here is where the key is for the engine mount that slots into there. You may find you have to sort of jostle or push or even cut a little bit of chamfer on the engine mount in order to let it, to get it to relieve itself into this. This will flex slightly. So usually what I do is I put the engine mount on the back of the motor, and then I put the speed controller onto the motor, set that up, probably through the center, or the speed control can go under there. I think it does slot under there if I'm right down here somewhere. And then push the motor down on the motor mount into the key, and then secure it with 3 screws, which you'll need to buy separately. I think that's about it, really. I'm just wondering if I need any top layers here because there's a bit of a hole here, but I'll probably see how it prints out and get away with it. I don't want to put a top layer in necessarily because I don't want this to have a top layer. But that's about it. Good luck. If you're going to do the Spitfire or P-51D, same technique. And I covered those videos already, so yeah, walk away.